Hello and welcome back to the Wildcat Theater Crude's YouTube series where we talk to previous festival participants about what they've been up to. This week's guest is Rodney Brazil, the mastermind behind Next Stage Theater Company in Oklahoma City. We had a lovely chat. We hope you enjoy it. As always, remember to check out theatercrude.org to find out how to get involved in our festival. And also, if you would like to donate to Theater Crude, you can also do that at theatercrude.org. With that, on to the interview. Welcome to the Wildcat the Theater Crude YouTube series.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. I've seen at least part of all of the ones that have been gone up on YouTube so far, and it's been fun to hear. I've worked in some capacity with everybody that's been on, at some time in the past. So it was great to kind of like catch up with them as well. So it's cool. It's like having a Fringe meet and greet virtually, and you don't get to talk back.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my selfish reason for doing this, is that I didn't really get to hang out with anyone last year because of the virtualness of the 2020 festival. So this is my way to like corner people. Say, hey, just talk to me for a while. I want to know what kind of art you're making.
Yeah. And, that is definitely the component. I was a big fan of the streaming theater all, the entire time. Like I never thought I would buy, a $35 ticket to see a recording of a play that somebody did, 2 years ago. But boy, I did, and it was great. And, I missed that. That was kind of like a big takeaway for me, is that so much of my, love of performing arts is like being there in person, not only to see the people, but to interact as an audience member and have that back and forth. So with the 3 shows that we've been to, and then I performed a couple of times, but didn't see those shows, being back in those audiences, it was just such a reminder that, like I love theater as an expressive form of storytelling and all the things that it is. But boy, I like being in the audience and being able to give that feedback to the other audience members in the room and the people on stage and all those things. So the social aspect of theater, I'm glad is on its way back, hopefully.
Yeah. You've been incredibly active over the past year with virtual streaming, new work. Next Stage has been crazy busy. Plus your Friday Night Theater Club. I am in awe and in admiration of what you have been doing over the last year.
It's funny that you say that, because I feel like I did nothing. But when you put it that way, yeah, I guess I did. I did work on quite a few things. Right when kind of the shutdown happened, all of my hobbies were canceled. Like running, theater. I guess those are my hobbies. Books weren't canceled, but 2 out of 3 were canceled. And so, it was really, even like 3 or 4 weeks in, I was trying to come up with something to do. I was like, some of the big theaters were starting to put things online, and I just didn't know what to do. And I said, do you think anybody would want to just like Zoom on Friday nights and read scripts, or whatever, just do some sort of theatrical something? And he was like, yeah, let's just try it. And so we did. We started it, I guess it would have been late March. And because we recently had the 1-year anniversary. And I think in that whole year, we only took there were only 3 weeks that we didn't read something. People weren't always there, but we hosted some sort of live readings on Zoom, just for the, the members of the club. We didn't stream them all. But that was, I guess I would say that was the greatest blessing of 2020 for me, because not only did I get to stretch my range personally, as far as the scripts that I read a part of, or the monologues that I performed, but also seeing people that I knew really well or didn't perform wide ranges of things, and honing my cold reading skills, and being able to watch myself. So often when you're in live performance, or for most of my life, maybe if you're lucky, you get to see a grainy video of one night of the show, and maybe you sit around and you watch the whole thing, or maybe you don't. It's just kind of weird. But having all those videos that were recorded, and then you go back and you like watch yourself do that monologue. So that would never have happened had the rest of the real theater world be shut down. Just wouldn't have happened. So that was a huge thing for me, and we're still going. So if anybody watches this and they want to do table reads and read random stuff, slide into my DMs, and we'll add you to the Facebook group, because it's really fun. We're not going to be able to do it. I don't think we're going to be able to maintain the pace of weekly meetings as people get back to their outside lives, but we're going to continue in some capacity. And then after we started that, then that turned into, well, we wrote some scripts. Well, let's perform them for everybody else. And then that led to people emailing me and saying, hey, are you going to do another one? I have an idea for a script that has to do with, what I'm going through right now, and let's do it. And so we did that. And then I was planning to like a big live show for my 41st birthday, which was in September. And, couldn't do a live show. So we sort of like made a mockumentary theatrical film that was based on some of the same characters that were going to be in the live show. Maybe we'll get to do the live show someday. And then brought in the new year with a live stream. We did, I think, 3 or 4 live stream shows on New Year's Eve because we, still couldn't go to any New Year's Eve parties. And so we had a party together, and performed for a couple of hundred people on Facebook and YouTube. And then of course the Fringe show, Naked Brunch, that I did with you guys, and that was supposed to be a live show that I had kind of the concept of, but the pandemic plus my personal life dramatically changed the concept of that by the time we got to the live stream. And so that was a really meaningful experience for me too. And I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys going forward and making sure that me and other artists got the chance to tell their stories and do their work in spite of many obstacles.
Yeah, and we definitely appreciated everyone that was willing to do some type of recording or live stream for us as well, because we know it's not what anyone wanted to do, but it was really great to see the turnout of everyone willing to try to make something work.
Yeah.
So that was real inspiring.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I think there were maybe 1 or 2 shows, because the first year I saw all of the live shows, and I was planning to do that again. And I think, that is one of the things with, when you have a Fringe festival, you have 3 to 5 times on a calendar and you look and you say, I'm going to go do this show. I'm going to go watch this show at this time. And then you go. Well, with the streaming, time gets away from you because you're like, I can watch it anytime. Well, I'll watch it tomorrow. But yeah, I thought there were some really great shows this year. The one with I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like it was either puppets or animation, and it was like the barnyard story. There was a donkey or something.
Yeah. It was called The Feast of the Ass.
Yes, I loved that. So shout out to those collaborators on that. I hope that once we're all out and about again, that maybe I'll get to work with them, because I loved everything about that show.
Yeah, the concept for their actual live production in-person thing is great. It's, Yeah, they have an actual mummers cart that they bring out, and they actually crown somebody the ass of the festival from the audience. It's fantastic. I really hope that they can bring it to life someday.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. I hope to be there when they do.
I had just talked to Lauren and Caitlin of We Stand Together a
Yeah,
week and a half ago, I think, and they mentioned that you were doing live streaming stuff for them too.
yeah. So, yeah. Uh, when we decided to do our first, like I say we, like theater artists that I frequently collaborate with that had already started doing some things, just for ourselves. When we decided to, do something public, we needed some way to really do it. And it was important to me to do it live, although recorded is beautiful as well. But it was really important to me at the time. And I think still kind of is for the performance stuff I put online to kind of do it live. But I bought some software so that we could put it, stream it live online and make it look really polished. And then I'm in Caitlin and Lauren's We Stand Together book club. And so because I was in there, and that had already started. So I was chatting with them and talking about books on a regular basis, invited them to be a part of one of our live streams. They liked the app and they wanted to do live streams. So then that turned into me being their live stream producer. And we've done, I think, 4 or 5 shows, and they've all been totally wild and very, very in the We Stand comedy style and great. And even though I'm just the producer, they've thrown me a bone and they gave me a segment in one. So I got to have a segment in one. My friend Ben and I got to compare the best who sings the bridge of Some People from Gypsy the best, according to as many famous people we could find doing it on YouTube. And so we did a montage. So they gave me that bit. But other than that, I'm just sort of the Gelman that if somebody gets off track or I feel compelled to pop in for a witty comment, you might see me for a couple seconds. But that's been fun too. And another, benefit of this last year, and I think that this is true for a lot of us, is us like I love the stage people, is learning some other skills, cultivating like these digital skills that when we go back to making live theater again full time, hopefully, we'll have all these digital skills that we can incorporate as well, that maybe maybe we'll kind of like they'll lead to some new ideas and some new ways to involve multimedia components to some of that live storytelling, hopefully.
Do you have any ideas you're excited to try out? You started kicking around what's going to happen when you can do live theater again?
Well, I had kind of talked with you a little bit about this idea for some puppet storytelling, and it shall remain nameless, but I can let you know that our pitch was not accepted.
Oh,
So maybe next time. I should have texted you to let you know.
oh,
But
that's a shame. Puppets are
yeah,
great. How could they say no to puppets?
I don't know. I love the people. Next time, if the entry doesn't get accepted, they put it in another festival. So yeah, I do like the that concept that we talked about, sort of this environmental experience with puppets. But I really had a great time with writing the monologues that I did for the Fringe Festival last year. And after doing that, and it was pretty well received, like a lot of people gave me really good feedback about that. But I don't know that my necessarily want to go around doing one-man shows all the time. But I got to thinking about it, and I've written and or co-written, I think 5 or 6 plays now. And almost all of them, there's been kind of that big monologue moment that just, I wasn't trying to write that, but it ended up in the script. And some more than others. And so what I'm working on now is kind of an evening of monologues tied together with a theme. But what I want to do is, for that, I don't really want to do anything multimedia. I know I just celebrated, the promise of the future of multimedia. But for this, I'm thinking, because we have spent so much time on Zoom, and like for instance today, like here we are today, 7:48 p.m. Central Standard Time. I've actually been at my computer for now 13 hours, between work and this and the other things that I've done. So my idea with that is to be very, very anti-multimedia and actually present people who are in situations, and their monologues are told in situations where there are no screens around them. It kind of like peels away this relentless stream of content that is a blessing and a curse. But these people, we catch these people in moments where they don't have any screens around them. And because they don't have any screens around them, they, are compelled to tell the audience what they're thinking about. So that's the next thing that's in progress now, and you'll probably get an email about it soon.
I look forward to it. It's going
A
to be
form
great.
submission.
Yes. Do you know what got you hooked on theater in the first place? Like, this is way left field, but
Yeah.
curious.
Well, I do. So I grew up in a really, really very tiny town. Well, 4,000 people or so, lived in the town that I grew up in Oklahoma. But some very wonderful artists and people that I still have a lot of respect for, and some of them, are still somewhat in touch today, had started a community theater. So the town had, way, way back in the early 1900s, they built an opera house, but then I'm trying to remember the legend now, but like during World War II, like it had been closed. And then it was like they opened up the stage and they would drive around cars on the stage. And this was on the second floor of the fire department in Hobart, Shortgrass Playhouse. And so it had been all these things, and then it had been nothing. And like what the Joyce, what was the last name? It's been so long. I haven't lived there in forever. But Joyce, she would always say that she scraped more bird shit off of that stage than any kind of bad shit that we could bring on with our acting. Was kind of one of her notes when she would direct. So but anyway, they had restored this theater, and for like this artsy guy that's in this farm town where there's a sign at the entrance of every corner of town talking about the the state football champions or whatever. Luckily, there was this cultural thing there that a lot of other communities didn't have. And so when I was in the third grade, I'd already done a couple of school plays, but I actually got to go see my first kind of like real play. I mean, it was community theater, but it was fully staged. Great actors of the production of Annie. And I mean, I just I don't think a day has gone by since the third grade when I saw that production of Annie that I haven't daydreamed about, wouldn't this be great on stage, or I wonder what this show is like to see. And really just kind of had this fascination with movie actors that I knew were stage actors as well. And so I don't really know what it was that day. I mean, I know that I loved the show, but something just caught me that day. And then I had this theater to continue to work in from the time I was in the third grade until I graduated and went off to college and continued to do theater. So there was just always there's always a playground for me to do that. And I'm pretty social, and like I've already said, there's a very social component to live performing arts. And so it just for whatever reason it just grew, just attached itself to me, or I attached myself to it, and inseparable now.
Yeah, that's great. So I feel like I'm going to be a jerk when I ask this question, but you're so enamored with theater and it's a passion of yours. Um, what has kept you in Oklahoma City, where theater seems to be this thing that exists and is kind of holding on, but we seem to always have to remind people that it's here and encourage them to participate in it. So what is it about Oklahoma City that makes you want to make theater here instead of going to a more vibrant theater community?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, and it's definitely something that I've thought about and my husband and I have talked about a lot. Um, and I would say that one of the things that kept well, what got me here is, I was from this like little tiny little place, and then I moved into the slightly bigger city, and then a slightly bigger city, and then I finished my bachelor's degree in Edmond at UCO, in the music theater department there. And so like at that point when I graduated, Oklahoma st- Oklahoma City still had a lot for me to explore. I hadn't really worked. I'd worked at Shakespeare in the Park by the time I graduated, but I think that was the only, outside of academic theater here, that was the only theater I'd worked at. I'd seen shows at all the others. So there's kind of like room for me to explore, theater work here. And a lot of my friends from that college, they, would move to New York or Chicago or LA, and they didn't do anything right then. And so, even though I kind of initially, our plan was to a couple of years after I graduated, you save and then you move and all that stuff. Well, we just noticed that we were like, I was working all the time here and it wasn't my full-time job. But even our friends that were working in New York, it wasn't their full-time job either, for the most part. A lot of them were still working 2 or 3 jobs. And I thought, well, I mean, I've worked at every theater in town here now. Like let's just stay here. Like we have connections, and definitely my family being close by was a part of that decision. If they lived somewhere else, it might not have, kept me here so much, but definitely, having opportunities here has kept, has been great. Um, and it does also seem like, the more, the more it seems like the opportunities are running out for a new creative outlet or a new performing arts outlet here, another one kind of comes up. You know, I'd worked everywhere, and there was some theaters I'm like, I'm never going to work there again. So it's like, oh, the pool's getting smaller, and then the Theater Crude Fringe Festival starts, and it was something that was really inspiring to me. Or a few years ago, there's some other things were kind of getting stale, and then the opportunity came up to produce a lot of shows at the Boom, and that was like 3 years of like in 3 years, Next Stage produced 11 shows, and I think all but one were at the Boom. Uh, and so, like, what an incredibly fulfilling time just to get to collaborate and work with new people and experiment. And the audiences there at the time, they were ready for comedy, but they'd accept some drama or some weird stuff too. So it was just great. So I guess all that to say, uh, getting to continually do stuff is what kept us here, and have people that do show up. You know, uh, One of the things that I say if I've directed or produced a show, and I say it because I really really mean it, when I thank the audience for coming, if the audience wasn't there, we wouldn't need to do a show at all. There's no need to put on a show if the audience doesn't come and doesn't want to see it. And so fortunately there are audiences here, and sometimes they seem pretty small, but a lot of them are very very dedicated. And over the years I've developed friendships with these patrons that will just kind of they, not that I'm the only person they come and see, but I almost always see their faces in the audience if I've worked on the show. And I know that part of the reason that they came is because that, we kind of have this artist audience member relationship, and they trust that there's going to be something interesting in my contribution to whatever that is. So
Love it. Yeah, thank you for promoting Oklahoma City. I feel like people don't believe me when it comes out of my mouth. I'm like, there is tons of artistic opportunity in Oklahoma City, and the people that make it are incredibly passionate about it. So
yeah,
don't be fooled.
that's interesting you'd say that. So speaking of you producing live videos, so I've produced some live videos and interviews for non-theater things as well now. And just last week, I recorded an interview with for Starspace 46, which is the co-working space where I have an office for my marketing work, which is my like sort of my non-theater work. And I produced this interview for them. And the person being interviewed, his name was Doug Sirocco, and he is um, intellectual rights attorney here in Oklahoma City. He's one of like the leading intellectual property attorneys in like the country, if his bio is to be believed. And he's a great guy, but he talked about, coming in from Chicago because he saw opportunity here, and he got here and saw that the environment was a really healthy place to grow and cultivate. He's a mentor. He's a business mentor as well, and as a great place to cultivate, entrepreneurs. And he was talking about a conference that he went to, and it was all people that were currently working in Oklahoma. If I'm quoting the story right, you can go to Starspace 46 YouTube page and watch this again if you want to make sure I got it right. But in essence, what he said is they surveyed the room and said, who thinks Oklahoma is a great place to live your life and do your life's work? Do you think it's a great place? Yes or no? And the people, he said, with one exception, the people that were from Oklahoma didn't think that it was the greatest place to have a thriving business and do your life's work. The people that had moved here all agreed that it was. And I think that is just something really interesting to reflect on. And it goes to that grass is always greener sort of mentality. But I'm kind of, maybe where I come to it from is that I'm not from Oklahoma City. And I came from a really small town where, we didn't have a lot of the like, I don't even know if there was a voice teacher other than the choir teacher, to teach vocal music. There might have been, but I don't know who it was. So, it's very limited opportunities. So maybe, when I landed here, it's like, whoa, look at, look at all that Oklahoma City has to offer. And I definitely have days where it doesn't seem like that's as true. I definitely have my days where I'm like, oh, there's nothing here. But for the most part, it's been true, and I think is true, that there are a lot of ways to express your creativity in the arts here in Oklahoma City. And I think it's very accessible too. It's not an exclusive community like you might find somewhere else. Like if you come in and you're really ready to work, and you're easy to work with, and you'll find your niche. You'll find where you fit in the arts community here.
Great. Well, surprisingly, we have been at this for a half hour now. So that's roughly the runtime I shoot for. So as we close up, is there anything you want to promote?
The only thing that I would really promote, I don't have anything definite on the calendar right now. So I would just want to promote, if you're vaccinated and if you feel comfortable, there are theaters that are starting to do things again. And they not only do they need our money to keep the doors open and keep the creative people, keep being able to sustain. Not only do they need that, but there's artists that are looking for audiences to come back. And every theater that I've gone to here, even the couple that I've seen inside, they're all taking really great precautions in the audience. It's felt like a really safe environment. So if you feel safe and if you've been vaccinated and you like performing arts at all, I would really just encourage you to find a show, because they are starting to come back, and I've seen 3 really good ones. So
Well, thanks for talking to me tonight. It's been
yeah,
great catching up.
yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll see you around town over the next.
Yes, for
soon.
sure. Well, yeah, you'll be seeing me in your inbox very soon. I finally decided on my title, so I've got to get my application pulled together.
Excellent. Everyone
right,
else watching. Everyone
Okay.
else watching, apply to the festival.
Apply to the festival. So yeah, I guess I have done a lot this year, now that I think about it.